last but not least, the whole thing going on with Cake Girl, I have to sort of reset for that one a little bit here. This is not over, and people will. I have to be a little bit. I have to admit fault in this. I admit fault in the sense that I wasn't careful enough. I need to be more careful, especially this year, because everything's going to be about tribalism this year. And again, if you're a red pill content creator and you haven't decided that you're going to completely pivot out like maybe Andrew Tate is. Andrew Tate doesn't want to have anything to do with the red pill anymore. Surprise, surprise, surprise. I don't know. Maybe Rich Cooper doesn't. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. I can't get away with it. I'm never going to be red pill adjacent. I'm Rollo Tomassi. I am synonymous with the red pill. I ain't getting away with it. Matovic. Thank you. Got you, Kyle. In fact, I'm going to put that up. There you go. That's too good not to. Matovic. Mato. So beware. I know what's coming up. The next thing that's coming up is going to be what Hotep Jesus has called the woke right. And the woke right are basically the woke left who've decided to pivot right because being leftist, being progressivist, it's not going to pay the bills. So what's happening really is you're going to see a lot of wokesy people sort of infiltrating like TP USA, like Turning Point USA and these conservative PAC organizations, and not necessarily to be like sort of like sabotage it or be like sort of spies. Maybe there's a few, but more so because that's where the bread is getting buttered. It's not about like politics. It's not about ideology. They could give two shits about the ideology. They care about the grift. They care about, they care about Cake Girl. And God forbid you like step in the cow patty that is trad wives or what's going to become trad wives. And I'm going to tell you here at the end here, one of the reasons, and this is me spitballing here one more time. One of the reasons I see this emphasis on incels, this emphasis on, incels are radical, but Rollo Tomassi and the Red Pill's radicalizing incels. They're going to be they're going to take machine guns out and just shoot up the neighborhood, right? I think one of the reasons, that's one, the incel thing. That's why we have all these studies on top of other studies, bad data, corrupt data on top of other corrupt data. That's why we have this shit. Because we need a convenient boogeyman. We need somebody to wipe all the manosphere slime off of onto somebody else when shit doesn't go the way that we think it does. Because people will invest their egos into their ideology and their convictions, especially in an election year. So when things don't work out for them quite the way that they expected that they would, or maybe not as well as they wanted them to, they have to have somebody to wipe that shit off on. Guess who that's going to be? That's going to be the red pill. That's going to be those red pill guys over there. That's why you get women who are saying, well, I don't know much about the red pill, but let me tell you for the next 45 minutes about everything that the red pill does, right? Or those guys aren't empathetic. They're not sympathetic. They don't talk about intimate partner violence, which of course we just did here. And we can see that intimate partner violence is not one of them. It's not the second most leading cause of death for women, by the way. So that said, when things don't go the way that they'd like to, they need a convenient scapegoat to blame that on. That's going to be the incels. That's going to be the red pill. That's going to be me. It's going to be Ryan. It's going to be everybody and anyone in Rule Zero for sure. Definitely be Myron and Fresh. Definitely be Brian. Brian, I love you from whatever podcast. I do. Really. I like Brian quite a bit. I like Brian enough to be critical of him. And Brian, I know sometimes I give you shit, and there's a reason I give you shit. So, but they're coming for you. They're coming for me. Coming for Mike Sartain. There's no red pill adjacent anymore. If you are in any way associated with me, you're probably going to catch you're going to get some overspill. You're going to get some overshots. If they're aiming at me, you're going to get the shots that go stray. So beware of that. And then also, one of the things I'm seeing right now, particularly with regard, and I'm going to do this on the next show, but like I've talked about marriage, God knows how many times. I used that guy, I forget, it was at, it wasn't Turning Point USA, was it? Yeah, maybe it was TP USA. The guy who was on there giving the sermon about, you guys, here's the solution. Here's how we save the West. Get married. Find a girl. Get married. Have more kids than you can afford. Yada, yada, yada. End of sermon. But it basically sounds like a Baptist minister. That narrative is going to be very, very popular coming up. It's going to be like, hey, let's get back to these traditional values. And you know who's not for those? Well, those red pill guys. They're telling you to get a vasectomy and avoid family and avoid marriage. I basically everything that I like was goofing on and sarcastic about in that tweet from last year. Aren't you vasectomy guy? Go fuck yourself. But that stuff, that's going to play really big. And I would say probably right around April or May. Remember, you've got to plot this out. It's going to intensify and escalate. Remember this. Remember what happened. And I remember this distinctly in 2020 because Rule Zero was going to do a live convention style thing in Las Vegas. And we started pitching it right around February of 2020. What happened in the middle of March of 2020? That's when C19 and that whole hysteria and that the C19 hysteria, that's when that started kicking off. Then you had BLM, and then you had these kids pulling down statues, and you had all this violent unrest and these riots in the street and everything else. But it progressively escalated from March, maybe the end of February, from then all the way up through until right about September, October. And then you got like the one or two debates between Trump and Biden, which was a big clusterfuck to begin with. And then that led into other things. And you had Mike Pence and the fly. Remember, you want to know why the Rule Zero logo has the fly? It's because I left that fly on the logo and I forgot to pull it. I'm like, I guess it's a mascot now. So that's why there's a house fly that's on my version of the Rule Zero logo because of the debate between Kamala Harris and Mike Pence. That when the fly was flying around and all we were like, it's got to be a sign from the devil, right? But you'll see it'll kind of get up to that point where God knows who's going to be. We don't even know right at this point. And then it will amplify and intensify right up until about November 5th. And all of this shit, all this very, very important shit that we're talking about right now, all this, I'm going to remind you guys of this on, maybe I'll do a special show on either the week before or the Sunday after, right? But certainly after November 6th, I'll do a show. And I'm going to remind you of this fucking show right now. I'm going to go back and pull this show and pull clips of this show. I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to say, this is what I was saying was going to happen. Here we go. Probably March. It'll start to pick up. It'll intensify and escalate through March, through the summer month. Well, certainly the summer months, but spring in through the summer. That's when it'll intensify and it'll get heavier and heavier and crazier until the debates. And then it'll simmer down for a bit. And then it'll go absolutely apeshit right up until November. And everybody's going to say, this is the election of our lifetime. If you're not out there. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If shit goes south for conservatives on this election, and by all indications now, it probably is. I can't say for sure, but I will say this. If they don't get what they want, if things don't change, they'll need a scapegoat as to why things didn't change. Now, one of the reasons why conservative women are so anti-red pill is because they think that guys like me are anti-marriage. Because what happens when conservatives get married? Women tend to vote with their husbands. They tend to vote more conservatively if they're with a conservative husband. So that's why you're getting this push right now for this pro-marriage. Just find any girl and get married. It doesn't matter. Go down to the courthouse and have more babies and more kids than you possibly can afford. Sounds like really good, nice Christian, conservative value stuff. We're getting back. We're having a big tent revival for marriage, right? I will guarantee you that if shit hits the fan and things don't go the way they want, they're going to say it's because those red pill motherfuckers were anti-marriage. And if more of you guys had manned up and got married and manned up and married those skanks, right? Thank you, Del Rock. That will be the one, at least one in part. That will be one of the reasons that they will give for here's the rationale as to why we lost, because the red pill guys are degenerate fucks, and they're part of the red pill. They're part of because red pill, of course, is synonymous with conservative politics. It's not, but that's what they will want you to think. And I guarantee you that will be the scapegoat, and that will be how they're going to wipe off failure. They will wipe off failure on the red pill. They will wipe off failure on these guys who are these degenerate fucks who want to tell you not to get married and go get a vasectomy. Take that to the fucking bank. Guaranteed.